All right, everyone, welcome back. So, we have another team here that has clinched a playoff spot, and that is the Winnipeg Jets. So, Winnipeg has had stretches where they've been really good, stretches where they've been not so good. So, it's really been kind of all in between here for Winnipeg. However, you should not count this team out as a legitimate Stanley Cup contending team. And they're one of the three teams in the Central Division that make you scared to play a team in the Central Division. So, currently, as of right now, the time of clinching, the Jets are 47, 24, and 6 for 100 points. They are 8th in the NHL. They have scored 237 goals, have led in 191. They are 25, 11, and 3 at home, and they're 22, 13, and 3 on the road. So again, Winnipeg has had their stretches where they've been good. They've had their stretches where they've been bad. You know that they can definitely be a team that can be great. They can be. They have proven it in seasons before. They've proven it even this year. They can be a team that can contend for a Stanley Cup. They do have some spots where I'm a little bit concerned, but I still really do think that this team has a good chance at going all the way and trying to get a championship back to Canada for the first time since '93. I think it's definitely possible. We're going to see if Winnipeg's the one that does it, though, but I have a lot of faith in Winnipeg doing it. I do think that the stretches where they haven't played well have been a little bit concerning. Like, there will be points where they look like they're doing really good and they just turn it off, and that kind of it's bad. It's not something good to see. So there are teams that can play that way, where they can turn it off midway through the season, and then playoffs come and they turn it back on. But we saw last year that Winnipeg, they really can't. So the Jets really need to give it 100% through the rest of the season here and into the playoffs if they want to go far once again. But regardless, you look at their leading scorers. It's kind of this. It's kind of different compared to when you look at a lot of the other leading players for other teams. Like when you look at, let's say, the Avalanche or even the Stars, you have players who legitimately are leading the team by like a large margin, or even the Oilers where McDavid is leading them by a large margin. Not necessarily with Winnipeg. Winnipeg's kind of like the Western Conference version of the Carolina Hurricanes, where they play as a team. They have a lot of guys who kind of score at the same consistent rate, and that's what makes them good. You got Mark Scheifele here, first in scoring for the Jets, with 70 games played, 23 goals, 43 assists for 63 points this season. Again, I think Scheifele has been, probably definitely this team's best scorer. He has been a guy who has been effective the whole way through, and it's a good thing they didn't trade him either, because there were rumors that he was going to get traded. Obviously, it never ended up happening. So it's good to see there that Scheifele is keeping and staying in Winnipeg for sure. So good to see there from Scheifele. Second in scoring is Josh Morrissey. Now, Morrissey has not had the season that he had last year with the Jets necessarily, where he was putting up great numbers, but still, he has pretty good stats. 77 games played, 9 goals, 54 assists for 63 points with the Jets this season. Again, I think Morrissey is definitely this team's best defenseman. Definitely gets underrated a lot by a lot of different critics for, the overall Norris Trophy race and who's a more valuable defenseman and such and such. I do think Morrissey is very valuable to the Winnipeg Jets. I just don't think that he's ever going to come close to getting a Norris Trophy. It's unfortunate, but I just don't think it's in the cards for him this year, which sucks, but it happens sometimes. Third in scoring is Sean Monahan. So Monahan, I got to put an asterisk here too, because he was on the team that we talked about earlier today, Montreal, but then he got traded to Winnipeg midway through the season at the trade deadline. So you got to keep that in mind with the numbers I'm about to read to you. So Monahan currently has 78 games played, 24 goals, 32 assists for 56 points with the Jets/Canadiens this season. So again, I do think that Monahan is an effective center. He's definitely something Winnipeg needed. They needed a second-line center behind Scheifele. So it's great there that they got a guy like Monahan who's really going to help out that top six and that overall center depth. Because in that case, you can put Lowry on the third line, make him play really good defensively, or even put Monahan on the third line. Whatever you want to do. To be honest, you could really have a lot of options there with Winnipeg's center core. So getting a guy like Monahan is definitely good for this Jets team. I really do like it. And I'm hoping that Monahan will be that effective secondary scorer that they brought him to be on, giving up a first-round pick for him, obviously. So we'll see if Monahan is that guy for Winnipeg. Fourth in scoring is Nikolai Ehlers. Ehlers, obviously, is another player who's been on this team for a little bit and has been effective this year as well. 77 games played, 23 goals, 33 assists for 56 points. Again, Ehlers is another player that I have enjoyed a lot this year. Another solid top six forward. He's often like disregarded, and I mean he's not a guy who scores a lot of points either. He's not a player who comes into the NHL or comes into the Jets and scores a lot necessarily, but still is a very effective player and will be one of the guys who could be a clutch player for them in the playoffs this year. Because obviously with 23 goals, he's tied. He's tied for second or he's tied for third. Sorry, in the leading scorers. So definitely we'll see how Ehlers does with the Winnipeg Jets in the playoffs. Kyle Connor is your fifth leading scorer. Now, Kyle Connor being fifth is a little bit surprising. When you look at the games played, he's played about 10 games less than everyone. So, again, that really should not surprise anyone with the way he's produced this season. But regardless, when he has been in the lineup, he's been pretty effective. 61 games played, 31 goals, 24 assists for 55 points this season with the Winnipeg Jets. Again, is a player that I think has been really effective this year and is a guy that you can count on for goals, for sure. He's a guy who could score. So hopefully there, Kyle Connor is that guy in the playoffs and doesn't get injured and stays healthy. That's what the Jets want. They want him to stay healthy for sure. He's the biggest guy where if he gets hurt, they're probably in big trouble. Even though there was that stretch where he was hurt and they played really well, you don't want to have that in the playoffs. So hopefully Winnipeg will be able to keep him healthy and keep him as scoring in the playoffs. Other guys that I thought were effective, like guys like Tyler Toffoli, you got Adam Lowry in there too. Obviously, there's other defensemen on this team like Neil Pionk, all that good stuff. So there's plenty of solid players on this Jets team, and there's plenty of depth too. I feel like they are one of the deeper teams in the league. They have a very deep offensive core that's very effective. Like guys like Nemesnikov can come in and play well. So there are plenty of players on this Jets roster who have the assets to play, and of course, too, Nino Niederreiter as well. So there are a lot of players on here that I think bode together well to make a really solid playoff contending team. Excuse me. So your goalies now, arguably the biggest part of this team, is Connor Hellebuyck. Hellebuyck looking like he could win another Vezina this year with a 34-19-4 record, a 2.41 goals against average, and a .920 save percentage. So Hellebuyck is looking like he's going to be the Vezina winner, as I just said. He's another player who is very valuable to this team. You take him off this team and you put a mediocre or just even a solid starter in net, I don't think this team is all too great when it comes to that. So Hellebuyck, it just goes to show how valuable he really is to the Winnipeg Jets. So hopefully there, Hellebuyck will stay healthy and stay consistent throughout the playoffs, because if the Jets defense has told us anything, he's going to need to be. So hopefully he is. Your backup goalie then is Laurent Brossoit. Brossoit with a 13-5-2 record, a 2.10 goals against average, and a .925 save percentage. So again, Brossoit's been a serviceable backup in the games he's played. He was a backup for Vegas as well. So hopefully he will stay that way and will play consistent through and into the playoffs. So yeah, Winnipeg, as I said, I do think they're a cup team. There are a few things that I'm a little bit on. A few like tweaks in the roster, like the defensive depth is a little bit for me. I know they got Colin Miller. I know they got other players that are going to be solid, but still, there's still guys on this team that I'm just like, I don't really know if I'm big on board with some of them. But regardless, I want to know your guys' thoughts on the Jets, because the Jets are always a team that's not often talked about, not just on this channel, but overall. They're one of the more forgotten Canadian teams. But they do deserve a lot of recognition, because I do think they can be a legitimate contender this year, unless they play Colorado. I'm fearing them if they play Colorado. But hey, Colorado's had their own struggles too, so we'll see what that series could look like. But regardless, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe down below. That would be greatly appreciated. We got about 4 more of these to make. I'll probably make 1 more today, then the rest tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. But regardless, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.